After a week gone from the action, the Hawks winners on the road in Edmonton, a big win for this team on the road. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but the Hawks needed this break. They take a week off after some really rough stretch of games playing the Wild 3 times and the Avs twice in around a 7-game span. So this begins this rescheduling that the NHL had. They've rescheduled most of the games that the NHL canceled in late December, in November, and all that time when I think it was Omicron virus was going around and canceling things. Thank goodness it did not become too much of an issue as the original virus was. So thank goodness that we are not going to have a really short season and maybe a huge playoff again. So this is the first of 6 games that the Hawks will play that in the next 3 weeks that were all rescheduled from earlier in the season. It starts with a 3-game road trip here in Edmonton. They go to St. Louis and Winnipeg next. And they come back home for 3 games against the Stars, Jackets, and Panthers before staying home to play the New Jersey Devils, which would have been the next game after we played the Wild had the Olympics not been canceled and no cancellations of games. Our game against Calgary that got canceled earlier this year is going to be postponed all the way until April, so that is going to be an event that we're going to have to worry about Calgary down the stretch, which I don't really want to have to. But yeah, we're going to talk about. Let's forget about let's talk about the other Alberta team that we played today, the Edmonton Oilers. Right from the get-go, the Hawks just come out flying in this one after a week off. They needed this, and they looked like they were itching to get back on the ice as they get a power play early in the game. And they find DeBrincat in just the same spot he scored from so many times this season, and he buries it. I mean, you can't ask for a more perfect setup, and it almost – well, actually, it wasn't necessarily the best setup in the world, but then again, Alex DeBrincat has been putting in these tough shots, these tough angle goals all season long, and he still continues to score. Teams are not able to defend it. It almost looks like it's just DeBrincat is just too good. You just can't stop those. And so it's 1-0 in the first 2 minutes. And then a minute later, a nice setup to Brandon Hagel. He buries it. It's 2-0. So in the first 3 minutes of this game, the Hawks get 2 really big goals that would set the tone for the entire game. And see, the Brandon goals are just, a typical power play setup that you've seen so many times this year. But the Hagel goal was interesting. Caleb Jones clearing it. And then Doc gets a really nice pass to DeBrincat, and then comes in and finds Brandon Hagel lagging behind. He waits a little bit and puts it past Mike Smith. The Hawks would go down to intermission, 2-0. They lead. The Oilers would get their only goal of the game on a power play about halfway through the second period, when it was just a mad scramble in front that just couldn't be contained no longer. And I mean, they almost were gifted a save as Evander Kane fanned on a shot. I think this was his Oilers debut. But Evander Kane just absolutely fans on this shot, which allows Marc-Andre Fleury to actually come back and make that play. But then Leon Draisaitl comes in and he's down on the floor. Draisaitl puts it in and it's 2-1. And see, it keeps getting better because going into the third period, the Hawks would still be up. But right out the gate again, they're on the power play. And Seth Jones and DeBrincat get a couple passes between each other, but then Jones finds the lane and DeBrincat finds the lane. Jones to DeBrincat, and he just gets a perfect pass that's just tipped in by Dylan Strome, and he gets the power play tally. And the Hawks, they just got a lot of power plays in this game. I don't know what it was, but Edmonton just seemed to be committing so many penalties, which then just took so much time off the clock for them to even put up any shots. And well, that's how it goes. And see, the Edmonton Oilers outshot the Hawks by they put up 40 shots, and they only scored once. That's bad. And so to round out the scoring about halfway through the third period, Jake McCabe just kind of throws it down, and then Hagel just passes it right to the stick of Doc, and it almost looks like Doc wasn't even paying attention here, and it just kind of went off his stick and in the net, and it passed Mike Smith, and that's just a bad goal to let up. I mean, if you look at the shot counter at this point, it's like 20-40. The Oilers are pretty much doubling the Hawks up on shots at this point, and they've only scored once because Marc-Andre Fleury had a very good game. That's part of it, but I mean, it's still that's like I don't think the Hawks have even had something that bad where they've had that many shots and only one goal. But then again, they're not really a team that's known for having a lot of shots, and that's just how this team rolls. They don't put up 40 shots a game. I don't even think they put up 40 shots in a game this season, um, or at least not to my knowledge. But I mean, they're getting pretty much doubled up on shots in this game, and they're up 4-1, and they just ride out the clock, and that will be the end of the game. And the Oilers did not look good. They just didn't show up in this game. And this is the exact way that you'd want the Hawks to come back from this week-long break with a huge win on the road, 4-1, looking better than the other team. And well, then again, the Oilers had so many penalties in this game. It just seemed like the Hawks were on the power play way more than they should have been, and that's just bad. Hawks come into this game down in the dumps. They couldn't buy themselves a win before this break. They come back and they are able to put 4 goals on the board. And well, I mean, they got St. Louis next. It's a tough ask to go on the road and beat St. Louis. But hopefully, fingers crossed, this momentum can carry over. And then they play Winnipeg next. So who knows? Maybe if we can get one of these 2 wins, that's pretty good for them. 2-1 on this road trip. That's going to be good. That's success for how the Hawks have looked this season. Frankly, I don't know what else to say. This was a solid game, a good team effort win. Everyone played well in this game. And, well, on to St. Louis. So that's going to do it for this one. If you liked it, please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you really liked it. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.